I started my first business in my mid-20s. I started another business similar in my mid-40s. Both were part-time, small businesses, really side hustles, started from scratch. Both were low budget and both relied on me to do most of the work. At 25, I had energy and tech skills and a lot of time on my side, plus nothing to lose. At 45, I spent 2 decades as an entrepreneur with a family and a lifestyle to support. Most people would have bet on the younger one. They'd be wrong. In the first year of business, the 25-year-old me burned through the startup budget, made costly mistakes, and was living on basically ramen. The 45-year-old version was much different. I was profitable by month 4. I stuck to the initial budget and made some shrewd moves to ensure my lifestyle wasn't affected. I already knew what vendors to trust and which customers were worth chasing and which ones would basically just drain me dry. I knew how to read a contract without paying a lawyer to do it for me. Most importantly, I knew how to say no. I didn't have to learn those lessons. I'd already lived them. And that's not luck. That's just not just age, it's experience. So if you're over 40 or 50 and thinking about starting a business for the first time, that's exactly what you're sitting on right now. So let's talk about how to use it. Hi, I'm Matt. I've spent over 25 years building companies as a serial entrepreneur and helping small business owners with their day-to-day challenges. At Beyond BST, we help entrepreneurs move from idea all the way to first dollar and beyond. Welcome to the channel. Hey, quick question before we dive in. When you think about starting a business a little later in life, in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, what's the first word that comes to mind? Opportunity or obstacle? Drop it below in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where people land on that. Here's what I want to show you today. The things that feel like they're working against you, the years, the experience, the scar tissue, those are actually your biggest competitive advantage. You just have to know how to see them that way. Let's look at why. The first one is pattern recognition. When you've been in the workforce for 20 or 30 years, you've seen things. Deals that look too good to be true usually were. Partnerships that sounded perfect on paper often weren't. And markets that seemed bulletproof until they weren't. You've watched other people make expensive mistakes. Maybe you've made a few yourself. I know I have. And that's not baggage. It's good data. A 25-year-old entrepreneur is going to spend the next decade learning what you already know. They're going to pay for it in time and money and stress. You already have that education. It just didn't come with a degree. The second advantage is your network. After 30 years in the workforce, you have contacts, former colleagues, vendors you've worked with, managers who believed in you, and clients who've trusted you. Those relationships don't just disappear when you decide to go out on your own. They'll follow you. And in the early days of a business, when you're trying to land that first client or find someone who can solve a critical problem, that network is worth more than any marketing budget ever will be. Most young entrepreneurs are building their network from zero. You're already holding all the cards. The third advantage is credibility. When a 28-year-old walks into a room and says, "I've been studying this industry for 2 years," people may nod politely. But when someone with 3 decades of real world experience walks into the same room, that conversation's different. Customers buy from people they trust. Trust takes time to build, and you've already built it. And that credibility isn't just nice to have. In service businesses especially, it's your entire product. And the fourth one, and this might be the most underrated, you know what not to do. Most first-time entrepreneurs spend the first few years learning what doesn't work, which markets are a dead end, what type of customers cost more than they're worth, and what shortcuts turn into very expensive detours. You've already taken some of those wrong turns in a job or in a career. You've been watching someone else's business from the inside. And that negative knowledge, knowing where all the landmines are, is just as valuable as knowing the right path. Maybe even more. The fifth advantage doesn't get talked about enough: financial stability. Think about what starting a business looks like in your 20s. You probably have student loans, maybe young kids, a rent, or a mortgage you're just starting to chip away at, a savings account that's mostly optimism. Every dollar you put into that business is a dollar you're just pulling from somewhere else that probably needs it. That is a pretty big constraint. Now, Think about where most people are in their 40s and 50s or even in retirement. The kids are probably out of the house. The mortgage might be paid off or at least getting close to it. You've had decades to build savings. Your fixed expenses are probably lower than they've ever been. And that doesn't mean you're just writing blank checks to the business, but it does mean you have something most entrepreneurs are desperately short on: financial runway. The ability to take a calculated risk without it threatening everything else in your life. That changes, honestly, it changes everything. It changes how you make decisions. It changes what you're willing to try. And it changes how long you can even just stay in the game while you figure it all out. So here's the real picture. Starting a business in your 40s or 50s or 60s doesn't mean you're behind. It means you've been training for this longer than most people realize. The pattern recognition, the network, the credibility, the hard-won knowledge of what to avoid, and of course, the financial runway to actually see it through. These aren't consolation prizes. Honestly, they're more like competitive advantages. And the people who are younger and faster, they're still learning what you already have. Now, knowing you have the advantage is one thing. Knowing how to use it, that's another. And on Thursday, we're going to go into the practical side, specifically how to take what you've already built and turn it into your first business dollar. And if that's something you want to see, hey, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, geared right at the small business owner, please like it and give me a subscribe and share it with your friends if they might like it too. And let me know in the comments because I often look there for new topics. Now, take a breath. You've got this. All right. What's next?